Different food requires different digestive enzymes, as I've said before. Um, Now, some persons may not know this, but whenever you eat carbohydrates, there's a certain enzyme that is specific to digesting or breaking down the components of the carbohydrates as opposed to protein. When you eat protein, there's a certain enzyme that's used to digest protein, and these enzymes are excreted by the body at different periods of time. And these different food groups, they take a different period of time in order for that specific food to be digested. Okay, some acid and some alkaline. As any student of chemistry will assure you, acids and bases, which is alkalis, neutralize each other. Okay, um, when acids and alkalines come in contact, they neutralize each other, and this retards digestion. A typical example is eating bread with protein. One is an acid and one is an alkaline. And we're going to get into that in more details as we explore what food combining is all about. Now, protein foods require a highly acidic environment for digestion, while carbohydrates such as starches and fruits and sugars and fats require a more alkaline medium. So before we even actually get into the nitty-gritties of enzymes and what they are and how they work and how long it takes for certain food groups to be broken down, let's just stick a pin here. Now, in this little bit of information, as it says, protein foods require a highly acidic environment for digestion, while carbohydrates, starch, um, such as starches, fruits, and sugars, and fats require a more alkaline medium. Anytime two or more foods are eaten at the same time, those foods require opposite conditions for digestion. So let's take, for instance, you have a chicken bologna sandwich. Um, in that sandwich, you're going to have you have bread and you have chicken, which is a protein, it's a meat. By consuming those two types of foods together, what this is actually saying is because you have a protein which requires a fairly acidic environment in order for that protein which you're consuming with the bread to be digested, the environment needs to be alkaline. Now, the environment for the bread, which is known as carbohydrates, needs to be, well, the environment for the protein needs to be acidic, sorry, and the environment for the carbohydrates needs to be more alkaline. So, I mean, just looking at it, just think about what's going to happen if you're consuming bread and protein. It sounds really unorthodox because we've been taught over and over again as we've been growing up. You know, when you're eating, you eat bread with cheese and bread with protein. But does it really help our body and does it really aid in digestion? And again, we're going to get into that a little bit more as we explore the whole concept of food combining. Now, when starches and proteins are combined, their stimulation to the digestive juices generates a conflicting response and produces a medium which does not digest other foods very well. The situation often leads to indigestion, bloating, gas, abdominal discomfort, and poor absorption of nutrients. Any quick digesting foods such as fruits must wait until the slowest digesting food leave the stomach before they can leave, a process which can take up to 6 to 8 hours. So just imagine what's taking place here. You contrary to popular belief, when you're eating your breakfast, we're advised to eat a fruit. You want to make sure you have a real hearty breakfast. Sometimes we consume bread for breakfast. Now, basically, what's taking place here is whenever you consume fruits with protein or starch, these the protein and the starch need to be digested, or that's basically how the body works. The protein and the starch, the body would first send out enzymes to digest the starch, then the protein, and then the fruit. The fruit that you would have eaten would be the last to be digested. And just imagine if it takes 6 to 8 hours for this whole process to be completed. The fruit that would be left in your stomach will start to ferment, and we're going to get into fermentation a little bit, and it's the fermentation that really drives the indigestion in your stomach. So while waiting, the fruit and some of the starches undergo some decomposition and fermentation, producing gas, acid, and even alcohol along with indigestion. Okay, so this is a short article that I've just read. Now let's get into the whole concept of food combining. Now before we actually get into the hardcore information, which is basically how to combine your food the correct way that helps you to absorb the nutrients better and also to stay healthy, let's take a closer look at what really food is. Now, food is classified as foodstuff. And foodstuff is basically anything that you eat can be defined as foodstuff. Anything that you buy, it can be processed, it can be non-processed. It's defined as foodstuff. Now, just to get a dictionary definition of what foodstuff is, it's a substance with food value, specifically the raw material of food before and after processing. Now, just to give you an overview of, some of the different foodstuff by categories, we have foodstuff on the protein categories, we have foodstuff on the starches. So under the protein section, nuts would be defined as a protein. Well, it would be more of a fat protein. We have cereals, we have dry beans, we have dry peas, soybeans, peanuts, all flesh foods, cheese. These are defined as protein foodstuff. Now on the starches, starches can be all cereals. So we have dry beans, dry peas, potatoes, chestnuts, peanuts, banana, squash, pumpkin. All these are defined as starches, foodstuff. And under the starches category, we have things like syrups and sugars, which also falls under starches, and they are also classified as foodstuff. So your brown sugar, your white sugar, milk sugar, maple syrup, cane syrup, honey, all these are syrups, fall under the syrups and sugars category. And then we have mildly starchy starches, foodstuff, and there are things like cauliflower, beets, carrots, rutabaga, salsify, and we have sweet fruits like banana, dates, figs, raisins, prunes, mangoes, papaya, cherries. All these fall under starches, foodstuff. And next up we have fats. Now, fats are also defined as foodstuff, and some fats, some examples of fats are olive oil, soy oil, sunflower seed oil, sesame oil, butter, substitutes, pecans, creams, nut oil, lard, cottonseed oil, avocados, fat meats. All these fall under the fats categories. And then we have acid fruits. Okay, acid fruits are fruits like oranges, grapefruits, pineapples, pomegranate, tomato, lemons, lime, sour apples, sour grapes, sour peach, sour plums. And we have sub-acid fruits. And there are things like fresh figs, pears, sweet cherries, sweet peach, sweet apples, apricot, huckleberry, sweet plum, non-starchy and green vegetables. We have lettuce, celery, we have cabbages, cauliflowers, chive, mustard, turnips, kale. All these fall under non-starchy green leafy vegetables. And we have melons. And we all have the famous watermelons. We have cantaloupe, pine melon, banana melons. Anything that falls under the melon category would be termed as a melon foodstuff. Now, let's take a look at how exactly food is digested. Now, digestion is a mechanical and chemical breakdown of foods into smaller components that can be absorbed into the bloodstream. Okay? Now, in order for foods to be broken down, they need a catalyst. And the catalyst